Hey there. I'm going to try to make this video not too depressing. There is hope, but I want to talk about some current events and how that impacts us. Does it seem like the world has just gone mad the last few years? It seems like we never recovered from the pandemic, and now something else is going on. You're not alone. People are all over talking about this. Prices going up. I'll talk more. Anyhow, that's what I want to talk about in this video. First of all, by the way, if we haven't met before, I'm Donald Henderson, coach, and I'm also trying out a new gizmo. It allows me to come up to the whiteboard and you can actually hear me this time. Anyhow, this little thing right here, I'm going to put it in the description down below. It has several features, most of which I haven't tried yet, but it does. The volume for the microphone does work out quite well. If you're interested, I'm going to put a link down in the description. I'm also an Amazon associate, so I'm going to disclose that. So if you do buy something that I put down below, there's a chance I might get a commission, a very small commission, and it won't impact one way or the other your purchase. Okay, just want to get that out of the way. The cost of everything has gone up. I do some traveling for business, and sometimes I have to do a drive-through. Not my preferred thing, but when you don't have time and you're buying the wheel, that's what you do. And without saying which chain it is or whatever, I'm just going to tell you that I've been noticing every week I go down to this area, buy the same thing on the menu, nothing different. I notice it goes up a little bit at a time. And it's like, okay, we got some inflation, gas prices are going up, things like that. This last week I went down there and bought the same menu items. It was a 20% increase. 1 week, 20%. And I looked at my wife and I went like, well, what just happened? It wasn't an incremental. That was a big jump. Now, granted, I'll probably be watching it to see if it still jumps, has large jumps, or it's incremental, or that's kind of like they put that into their pricing structure so that they don't have to keep incrementing the prices of things. I'm sure that's pretty labor intensive, even though it's computerized. But anyhow, that was a shock. Weird things are going on all around the world. I mean, every time I turn on the news, whether it's the radio, TV, uh, internet, things are getting really strange, like businesses, manufacturing, warehouses, whatever, catching on fire. And we never hear what caused it. What was the root cause of it? Cars in the middle of a city just suddenly burst into flames. Um, no explanation. And some of the commercials I've watched are kind of weird, getting kind of creepy. And I'm wondering, is this some way of getting us used to a new normal of some sort? Normalizing this weird stuff? I'm not sure. So, what has this got to do with my line of work? Okay. Uh, our purpose. Now, is this going to cause us to change our purpose? That's what I want to talk about in today's video, is how that all this craziness going on is going to impact our purpose. The short answer is no. Okay. I believe that our purpose is something kind of like, did I just cover up the microphone? That'll be interesting to listen to. Um, our purpose is kind of like our eye color. We're born with it, It's something that's part of us. It's not something from around the world, our culture, our experiences, whatever. But there's things going on right now. There's a lot of layoffs. Companies are downsizing. Chains, restaurants are closing up. AI is really having an impact. People are looking for other work. Some people are just giving up. I mean, there's a lot of variables going on right now all at once that are impacting how we live. Rent's going up, groceries are going up, gas is going up, and our income not necessarily is keeping up with it, right? AI is taking jobs and also our electricity. You've probably seen in the news people starting to fight back, like not in my backyard. Our electrical rates are going up, even that supposedly these data centers are going to produce their own electricity, which I really haven't seen. I'm not saying it's not there, but I just haven't seen it. I was listening to a podcast this last week and I heard a new term that I don't think I've heard of before called clown world. You can look it up. Um, I guess it's becoming quite the meme lately. Not clown show, clown world. And basically what it's talking about is all the craziness that's going on. It just seems like it's a bad dream. It's very surreal, like a clown show. But anyhow, it's basically that's the meme or the title or whatever of the craziness going on because most of us average people can't explain it. Is it going to pass like other things have happened? In my lifetime, there's been a lot of economic upheaval. We've had the Cold War, we've had COVID, we've had, the dot-com bubble burst in 2008. We had the economic thing happen with real estate. That went crazy. Um, I my crystal ball doesn't tell me anything. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if this is going to be just it's going to be a trend. We're going to keep going down this crazy path, or are we going to come back to some semblance of normal? I don't know. But what I am going to talk about is some things we'll have to do to survive this, especially if it goes on long term. Losing jobs. If you're a small business owner, you may have to close up or move to another location because of the theft, or people can't buy your stuff, or the supply chain's messed up and you can't get product out. There's nothing to sell. Okay. In business, they call that pivoting. In human terms, it's called adaptation. We need to adapt. We need to adjust. Yes, regardless of what's going on, things change all the time. We have to adapt to survive and to succeed. But I believe our purpose never changes, okay? And it's kind of like a bullseye, a dartboard. You have the dartboard, and then you have the rings. And if you ever played darts or, archery, you know that you get the most points when you get in the center, right? Well, this is our purpose, okay? Now, our purpose has different manifestations. So what do I mean by that? In other videos, I've talked about my educational experience and work experience, and that I started out pre-med. I wanted to help people. I wanted to heal people. Then I've decided I wasn't quite cut out for medicine. Maybe I'll go down the psychology routes, become a psychologist. Same thing. I'm not a healer in that regard, but I can psychologically, emotionally, things like that. Still, I believe that's the same purpose. All the jobs I've had in aerospace and IT, the jobs that I had that I enjoyed the most weren't necessarily the ones that paid the most. They're the ones that allowed me some flexibility to still work on my purpose, okay? Whatever I did in my job function, I still had that healing, helping, facilitating part of my purpose was there. The jobs I had that I couldn't do that, the ones that I was basically working for the paycheck, I hated. It's a bad place to be. You feel very much like a slave when all you're doing is waiting for that weekly or bi-weekly paycheck, or waiting for the deposit in your bank account. You got to have your purpose there. Otherwise, you're just selling your life away. Okay. So what's going on now? We have to do the same thing. You may get laid off either because the company is getting smaller, or because AI took over your job and there's less people that need to be done because the function you do is now automated, things like that. You may have to get some more training. You may have to look for a job that's similar to the one you had before. If you're in a large company, look for something else you can do. That's one of the benefits of working in a large company, is there's some lateral movement allowed that way. That's great, but always keep your purpose in mind, because if long as we're working with our purpose, there's some satisfaction. There's some meaning in what we do. It's not just giving up, trading hours for money. Okay. So anyhow, in that area, I don't usually go for one dot. I go for several dots. Like here was medicine. Over here is psychology. Over here is developing a database to help my coworkers do a better job or relieve them of mundane work, and they could do more fulfilling, more higher level work, that kind of a thing. Same thing. Whatever your purpose is, we need to figure out a way, no matter what you do, to stay with it. Your relationships, your closest 5 people, you've probably heard about that. You want those people that are closest to you to be the ones that support you, the ones that encourage you, the ones that have similar purposes or purposes that fit in with your purpose, that kind of a thing. You're going to have to adapt, okay? And so those kind of things you still want to keep in your life. Because, like I said before, if you start working just for a paycheck, you may be doing that now, that those Sunday nights are going to get really bad. You're going to start really not wanting to get up the next day and go to that job, because that's all it is a job. Okay. So with what's going on in the world, what kind of things would I suggest you do is to be very aware of what's going on in your life, whether it's your friends, the cost of living, the people you work with. Start paying attention to what's going on, because one of the things I did in my career, even though it was nothing compared to what's going on today, I always looked around and listened to conversations, not eavesdropping per se, but listening to like how managers talk to each other, how customer and client and supplier kind of things, people you work with outside your company, you start getting a feel what's going on. And if there's a pattern, you've got to be aware of that. Okay, you may be keeping your ears open for a better opportunity. Just because things are crazy right now, it doesn't mean there isn't opportunities. There's still ways to make money. There's still ways to grow. There's still ways to stay with your purpose. Okay, always try to be on the optimistic side, because if we focus on what's breaking, it's going to break us, and we don't want that. Okay, so anyhow, whatever your purpose is, it's kind of a cluster of activities, okay? Clusters of what you're trying to accomplish in life. So it's, your purpose isn't a real concrete thing. Like, I'm going to drive from here to Seattle and I'm going to go to the city hall. Well, maybe you're going to drive to Washington State, and that's good enough. And that solves your purpose. For instance, when I moved up to Seattle, I really wanted to go to Portland, but there wasn't the work that I wanted to do there. So I ended up going to Seattle. Very close, similar weather, similar in many, many ways. It still filled that purpose, okay? Anyhow, hope that's clear. Let's see what else I got here. Anyhow, the ones, again, the jobs I enjoyed the most were the ones that had something about my purpose in it, okay? The ones I hated, the ones I just worked 40 plus hours for that paycheck. I had a couple of them that almost killed me from stress and also from hours. I worked like all 3 shifts on one job, and I swear, I probably would have taken someone out with me on the highway if I didn't quit that job, because I wasn't getting any sleep. All I was doing is trading my life for a paycheck. Okay, so this is a short one. I just wanted to let you know there is hope, especially when you focus on your purpose. Don't give it up. Because when you give up your purpose, you give up your meaning, you give up your life as far as satisfaction, not only just your career, but your life itself. Like I said, I've had jobs to where Sunday night, I hated Sunday night, because I knew I'd either have to work or I was going in the next day to a place I didn't want to be. And I wasn't working on my purpose. I was just working for a paycheck. So focusing on your purpose isn't the end all be all. I mean, we still need to make a living, right? Whether it's through your business or work or investments, retirement account, whatever. But just be aware of what's going on. Okay. Really be aware. And it can be overwhelming. But on a daily basis, be aware of whatever it is your purpose is, be aware of it and try to work around so that you stay on it, because there's a purpose. There's a reason we have a purpose, and we all have different ones. All right. I think that's all for now. I just wanted to talk about what I've been seeing, the craziness that's going on. We're all living it. Stick with your purpose and stick with your faith. All right. This is Donald Henderson signing out. See you next time.